Debt, Divorce and Death. Welcome to episode 44 of the Quiet Man series. In 2012, President Obama talked about a fiscal cliff. Well, I had one of my own, and I can tell you, it was akin to falling off our Capitan. It was a hard fall. My big corporate client pulled the plug. And when you go from 6 figures a year to zero overnight, it is literally like the road runner going straight off, splat. I certainly hit my brick wall. But me being me, I'd done some research on this. I'd opened a paper years ago all about transitions. And when people hit the brick wall, things happen. First thing that happens is you generally go into what I call the D world. I'm going to read it from the book because it does much more justice than I can possibly do it from memory. People begin to feel disappointment, dismay and dependent. They start to become disillusioned, disempowered and depressed. And they may initially deny that anything is occurring by becoming dissociated and detached. But eventually, if the right steps are not taken, behaviours such as drink, drugs and depression will manifest. And these ultimately can lead to debt, divorce and death. It's a dark, dismal and dangerous place full of doom. And it's what I call the D world. When a big shock to the system happens, that's quite often the behaviours and the feelings that start to manifest themselves unless people do something about it. Now, you're all intelligent, you're all well put together people, you will know how to deal with these things. You will go off and you will start doing the research, you'll start looking for solutions, you'll start talking to people, you'll go seek help to get yourself out of that pit of despair and despondency, won't you? Once you do that, now you're into a cognitive process. You can start letting the feelings go, which means you can start to constructively move forward. It's right back to the 3 spaces and 3 boxes, isn't it? The emotional space, the cognitive thinking space, the make things happen space. Takes the responsibility to make it happen. And it's the same with this whenever you get a major upset in your life. You may initially go into that deep feeling space, full of the D words, but you know that by taking responsibility and finding people to help you, you can work your way through it. And that frees the energy up for new beginnings to happen. So, I've often said to people, the boundary state is the exciting place to be. Live on the edge because that's where the energy is. If the energy is helping you to move forward. If you keep on going round and round and round in it, it's going to drive you bananas eventually until you can crack something and move yourself off and out of it. The only other thing is you get sucked back, which means you've got to start the process again. Well, I was in my D world for quite a while, I can tell you. But that was also accompanied by a huge health scare. I call it the C world. And I actually ended up having cancer, which was another part of the journey of making this transition at this point in my life so I could move my life forward. One of the people that helped me was one of my trusted advisors, a chap called John. And funny enough, I'd helped him through exactly the same process when he'd lost 2 businesses a few years before. He took me out for a coffee one day and he gently reminded me, Neil, do you remember the story you told me when I was in the place you're at? And I looked at him, I'd actually totally forgotten it. He said, there's a village elder. The villagers come running up to him. They say, Elder, elder, the donkey's fallen down the well. And the elder goes up and looks down, and sure enough, down in the well was a donkey looking up, braying away. And the elder looked at the donkey, he looked at the villagers, and he told them, go get your shovels. They looked at him a bit puzzled, but they went off. They came back and they had their shovels. And he said, start shoveling into the well. So they started shoveling sand and dirt down into the well. as they did that, every now and again he would look over and he'd go, shake it off, step up, bang, more down the well, shake it off, step up. And what happened was over time the donkey started coming up because it was shaking it off and stepping up. And John said, Neil, you've got to do that right now. Shake it off, step up, do something. Because the fact is, you're probably not as far down as you think you are. What have you got? Go back to your victory book. What have you got? What are the blessings in life? And when I went back and actually catalogued it all, I had at this point in my life a wife, big tick. I had a product, big tick. I had friends, big tick. Life wasn't as doomy and gloomy as I thought it was. So, if you are in this transition space where the feelings are overwhelming, where the D words start flooding in, and the D words, by the way, are the most negative words in the English language, when they start flooding in, shake it off, step up, take stock, and look at what you can do in a logical, methodical manner to move yourself further forward. Okay, so I'm probably going to leave it there. Debt, divorce, and death. There is a way through it when you are facing those 3 Ds. Shake it off, step up, take stock, see what you can logically do to make things happen, which of course goes back to personal responsibility. If you've liked this, give it a thumbs up. Please share it. Please comment on it. And I'll see you tomorrow for episode 45. Thank you.